just so that members of the public are aware, we are being filmed this evening, so if you don't want to be filmed, if you could let the press know, because obviously those who are coming to make statements, if you don't want to be on camera, if you could let the press know, that would be great. Right, moving on to the agenda then. So we have two apologies tonight, which is Mike Garnett and Shona Johnson. And there are no substitutions for those individuals. Declarations of interest? No? No? Nothing there only. The minutes which appear on pages 3 to 7 of the last meeting, are they agreed?
Yeah.
Any matters arising?
You get my pen.
No? Okay, thank you.
You get my pen.
Okay, there are no written questions. Just going to outline the procedure that we'll be following this evening for these planning applications. So the first thing that will happen is that the planning officer will present his report on each application. Comments will then have been invited from members of the public who have registered with the government support section at least 24 hours in advance. There are a maximum of 3 speakers for and 3 speakers against each application. And we do have some speakers this evening. Comments will then be invited from the applicant or the agent. And again, that person will have 3 minutes to speak. At that point, the public's contribution to that part of the agenda will be finished. And we then ask for councillors to put questions to the planning officers, and then we'll go on to a debate, and after the debate there will be a vote on each application. Okay, so that clarifies the process. So we're going to move to item 7 on the agenda, which appears at pages 8 to 18 of your agenda papers, which is 9 Upper Park. So if I can ask the planning officer to make a presentation, please.
The application before you seeks planning permission for a ground and first floor extension to the dwelling house at 9 Upper Park. You can see there, edged in red, the extent of the application site. On the next slide you can see an aerial photograph of the site. You can also see the adjacent properties. And to the south of the site you can see the heavily wooded area. In blue you can see the single-storey extension to the rear, and on this slide in red you can see again the extent of the single-storey extension, and there on the right hand side is the first floor extension. The extensions would be located to the rear of an existing garage and side projection, and will therefore mostly be hidden from public view. It is also clear from this photo that the existing side projection has a flat roof. The extension would also have a flat roof at first floor, reflective of the existing dwelling. This photo shows the relationship between numbers 9 and 10. As the majority of the extension would be of single-storey height, the addition to the first floor extension at 2 metres depth would not be significant, and the closest part of number 10 to the development would be its garage. It is considered that the impact on the amenity of the neighbour would be acceptable. It is not considered that the proposal would affect parking provision or demand for parking spaces. The officer's report recommends that a condition is added to ensure that the windows proposed in the first floor rear elevation are obscure glazed and non-openable below 1.8 metres from the floor of the shower room. However, the condition is not stated within the recommendation. It is considered that the condition is necessary and should be imposed. Therefore, the officer's recommendation is one of approval, subject to the conditions as set out at pages 12 and 13 of the agenda, with an additional condition to require the proposed extension's rear windows at first floor level to be obscure glazed and non-opening below 1.8 metres from the from the floor of the room to which the windows relate. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, could I ask somebody to propose that extra condition before we go any further?
I'll propose that.
Seconded?
I'll second
Thank you. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to call Mr Salisbury if you'd like to come forward. Take a seat, just one of those two seats there. And if you press the red button on the microphone and then talk into the microphone, you'll have 3 minutes to give your statement. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'd like to thank the Planning Committee for allowing me to put my point of view across. Can you please bear with me as I'm not used to public speaking. My name is Paul Salisbury and I've lived at 10 Upper Park with my wife and children since January 2000. One of the reasons we purchased the property was because of the south-facing garden. We were both looking forward to retirement without moving. My neighbour has lived in the adjacent property since 2015. This property, number 19, was purchased with an existing first floor extension above the garage, which I said in my letter was considerably extended. An extension which is already obtrusive as far as the street scene is concerned. As far as I am aware, no other mid-block houses have been extended in this way, unless the planning officer can tell me otherwise. Also, am I correct in what I said in my letter, that according to current policy, I would not be allowed to build a similar extension above my garage? I wish I shared the planning officer's confidence that my light would not be affected. I feel my light will be vastly affected, especially in the evening, when it is convenient for me to make the most of what is left of the evening sun after a hard day's work. No one has visited my home to see things from my perspective. You are all more than welcome to come and visit us before making a final decision on this matter. I have considered from the outset, that 5 metres is excessive. I have noted the planning officer says in the SPD that there is no maximum depth. So what is the norm? Does the officer consider that this is the norm, or this is beyond the norm? So, to sum up, I feel it will affect my light, and no one's come and looked from our perspective. And under current, we believe we're not allowed to extend above the garage, and 5 metres, we say, is excessive.
Thank you, Mr
That's
Salisbury.
it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Could I call Mr Richard Salisbury to come and make your presentation?
Sorry, also, can I give you some photos of the light, please? Can you
Yep.
look at them? I know you've obviously put some photos up there. Would you mind
Yeah,
looking
I
at
will
them?
pass them around.
Pass me. I'm much
you.
obliged. Yeah, thank you.
Good evening, I'm Richard Salisbury. I'm obviously my brother. So on the record, kind of most of the comments that my brother said. I know currently if I was to sit on my brother's decking, it's quite a relaxing area. It's plenty of natural light throughout the day. When it comes to the garage, I know that my brother would be able to work within that garage within natural light as well. So that's currently the situation. It's a nice relaxing area. You can work and be quite happy and content. What this proposal will provide effectively a 25-foot blocking wall which will block out natural light to the garage and the decking. It will make the area dark and very oppressive, and I would say, in my personal opinion, prison-like. Electric lights will be required to work within the garage. Like my brother said, I find it astonishing, if I'm honest, that there's been no visit from the planning office to see things from my brother's point of view. There's also a concern, I think there's a concern, from the height of the trees that are at the back of the properties, which are 55 foot in height. I would imagine, I'm no expert, but I would imagine that the roots from the trees are going to be into the foundations of the property. Has any consideration been made to that, and what disruption that this extension would have to the footings of the property itself and the neighbouring property? Also, the road itself is very, very crowded. There are cars and vans that often park on the pavements and on the road itself, blocking access to emergency vehicles. I understand that the plan itself may involve restricting the width of the driveway at the front of the property, could be wrong, making the exit from the drive in a car more challenging and adding to the already present dangers within that road. So my summary is as follows. This plan would result in my brother's garden being, the light to the garden being blocked, making the Deccan prison-like, and it would, I feel that it would also change the appearance of the neighbourhood, and it would set a precedent. And like I say, I repeat what I said before about no visit from the council. So, and of course, anyone from the council would be welcome to visit my brother's property.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Could I call Heather Brown, please? Yeah, just it's on, so just want to talk. 3 minutes as well. It's already on. It's fine.
Right. Thank you for allowing me to speak at such short notice, and please accept my apologies if I go over any similar objections to others. My name is Heather Brown, and I currently reside at number 12 of the park. My property is adjacent to the proposed extension on number 9, and I therefore benefit from the same light, or sometimes lack of it, as number 10. I have serious concerns as to the development and wish to address these. Firstly, I have personally visited the garden of number 10 and was shocked at how much the development would impact on their natural light, not only to their living accommodation, but also to the decking area which they currently enjoy. The height of the extension is oppressive and overbearing, and to their adjacent land. This area being the only area they can relax in without being overviewed or overlooked by other neighbouring properties at present. The back end of the garage, which adjoins theirs, currently benefits from natural daylight, enabling this area to be used for a workshop or an office area. The erection of a 25-foot wall from a double extension directly off of this would without doubt subject this area to darkness, and therefore would only be able to be used with the aid of an electric light. The dining room would most likely also be subjected to a reduction of light, and therefore in the evening, when most people use their dining room, would have to be artificially lit too. As neither of the applicant nor a representative of Harlow Planning has visited the property at number 10, I question the validation of the 45-degree right to light angle. As shown, the submitted drawing, this angle comes off of their extension as an estimate. Present guidance on boundaries allow 2-metre fence between property land, and to allow a 25-foot high wall to be erected in this place, to me deems unreasonable. Having sat on the chair adjacent to this, it would most certainly like being incarcerated in a prison courtyard. The extension to which this new build is attached would now be rejected by Harlow Council's current laws and for any other property wishing to apply for this sort of extension. So to allow this to be further extended seems preposterous, and also take into account would the upper floor level not have to be recessed inwards, would be required if the whole development was to be applied for now. My last concern, although dismissed in a letter, was that of it being used as a separate dwelling. Like rejection applications from number 70 and number 2 Upper Park, by proceeding with the building and putting the toilet into the garage, the applicant would then be reducing the width of his therefore garage and would no longer be able to vacate a vehicle if he parked in it. So to confirm, I feel that this has an overbearing impact on the neighbouring property. It would overshadow the neighbouring property, and it would without doubt set a precedent for further developments by other properties to both upper and lower floors, causing a total change of appearance to the character of this neighbourhood. This completes my objection, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Could I call, is it S. Ramazani, please? Again, as the others, you've got 3 minutes. If you just wanted to take a seat, the mic's on, so just speak into the mic.
Thanks for the chance. Actually, this extension is just for my family comfort. There is no hidden intentions as they were mentioning a separate dwelling or anything. Okay. And the light issues, whatever the light issues they are talking about. The first floor, that's the one story about. It is only 2 meter length from the existing building, which is definitely not going to affect the light for the neighbors. And also they have a garage next to the proposed planning. So their habitual room is after their garage. So when we go for the 45-degree angle rule, it doesn't, even the ground floor 5 meter extension doesn't go into their habitual room at all. So therefore the light is not an issue at all. That's what I believe. That's one thing. And the shower and first floor is mainly for our family purpose, because this 5-bedroom house has only one bathroom there. So we have 4 adults in the house. So we need a second ensuite. So, and also these rooms are all small rooms. That's why I need to extend outside so that I can build a shower. And about the car parking, all those things, this proposed plan doesn't change the number of cars what I am going to have. This is for my family purpose, solely for my family purpose, not for separate dwelling or anything. And because I am building another gym room, it doesn't mean that the number of cars will increase. That is not true. Okay, that's all from my side.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Robert isn't here, is that correct?
Sorry, he has some problems, so he couldn't come.
Oh, that's fine, just wanted to check. Okay, so in that case, can we move to Dr. S. Rajamanikam?
That is me.
All right, so who's the other?
Actually, we want to have 3 people to talk, but I was told only one person is going to talk, so that's why I should be privileged.
Okay,
Okay. There is nobody else talking.
there's nobody else to talk for.
Thank you.
There was. Did Mr. Ramasamy, did you want to talk? Because you can if you want. You sure? Okay. In that case, that is the end of the public debate on this issue. Councillors, do you have any questions for the planning? No. Sorry, done. Can we, councillors, have you got any questions to ask the planning officer on this application? Councillor Davis.
Yeah, I've got one. One of the people mentioned that if they wanted to, which was probably number 10, if they wanted to do an extension the same as number 9, they wouldn't be allowed in current law to do that. I just wondered if you have an explanation for that.
That's what I was going to ask too.
So there's, I suppose there's 2 elements to this. The extension that was built, that's currently built, would have been prior to our current design guidance. So if someone wanted to propose something similar to what's existing there now, our current guidance says that the roof of extension should be reflective of the main dwelling, so it would be more likely that we would want dual pitched roof for the design of that side extension. There's also a criteria that says that to avoid the terracing effect, if number 10 wanted to build it, they would need to have theirs set in a metre, because if they built up to their boundary, you're essentially creating a long terrace. But obviously that's not the proposal that's before us, and we obviously have to take into consideration that there is an existing flat-roofed extension there, and that this proposal would be built behind that, so in terms of its visibility and those design considerations, you can't really give an awful lot of weight to the design of something when it's not got high visibility.
Councillor Stratton.
I just want to...
Then Michael. Thank you.
Obviously, all three of the objections brought up that nobody from planning has visited the site. Can you confirm whether or not they have or not?
The planning officer for the case visited the site. That's the case officer's photo there, as are all of them. So has been to number 9. You can see that on one of the previous photos, actually, that it's quite clear what the relationship is between the properties. That's number 10, obviously where the arrow is. I also visited around the exterior of the site today. I didn't go into the site myself, but I wanted to go and have a look. So it's very much our opinion that we have got a full understanding of the issues that are relevant to this application.
Any other questions?
So looking at the photograph in the evening sunlight when it's getting darker, it would appear that if you put a building, an extension on top, you would be blocking out light, because that looks as though the sun streaming through was quite minuscule on the top of that. So the clarification that the light is going to be okay on number 10, because looking at that photograph it didn't look as though it would be.
Well, obviously I've not analysed the photo that's been sent around in detail, but I think the key elements to this are the first floor part of that extension would only come out 2 metres, and the number 10 has a garage closest to the existing site extension at number 9. So it's the officer's recommendation that the application be approved, because there's a significant separation distance between the habitable parts of number 10 and the extension, bearing in mind it would only be 2 metres up. And it's also worth bearing in mind that there's they have demonstrated the 45 degree rule here for the ground floor element, showing that the extension wouldn't encroach upon the views of the habitable room of pointing to the south from number 10.
Any more questions? Debate?
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt. Can you answer a question about 5 metres off, if you please? About where it's a normal.
Sorry, I'm afraid I can't interrupt. It's down for councillors to ask questions and they will debate this properly. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stratton.
It's about loss of light and other things that I'm not happy with. I mean, I understand that you'll say it's to the east where they're going to put it on number 9, but actually the sun sets in the west. So in the evening, which is clearly shown in the photographs, actually when you get that last bit of sun, and we all enjoy that last bit of sun, they ain't going to get that. We're looking at something that's coming along 5 metres by 3 metres high, which is what, 15 foot by 10 foot, the main part. So if you're sitting there, it will take a lot of the sunlight out in the evenings. You are going to lose an awful lot. Part and parcel of everybody uses is that if you've got a garden, you want to enjoy your garden. So, yes, I'm not completely over bowled by what the 45 angle, to be honest. I think it's a bit disingenuous to say that that won't really affect, because nowadays your living space isn't actually inside your house. We're all doing it more and more. Our living space is outside of the house. The weather's nice. I spend most of my time in my garden. I think most people don't. So I'm not exactly.
Thank you, Councillor Stratton. Anybody else want to make a
Can I
comment?
ask a question about the 5 metres as he's raised it? Because I was going to raise it and say that
Councillor Clark.
it was excessive. Yes. So is there a norm to answer the gentleman's question?
There isn't an established norm. There's no minimum or maximum in the design guide or anything like that. It's very much a case-by-case basis. There are permitted development rights that allow for 3-metre extensions to the rear of properties without consent, so that would be an obvious factor. Those types of extensions can be built up to 3 metres in eaves height, 4 metres in maximum height. So as a fallback, you can build fairly significant 3-metre deep extensions in scenarios like this. You can also build significantly sized outbuildings that are 2.5 metres in height that could run along the entire boundary. But in this case, we determined that 5 metres is appropriate, bearing in mind that would be at single-storey level.
Any more debate? Councillor Clark?
As regards, thank you. Well, I'm torn on this, although my sympathies do lie now really with the objectors somewhat. It is large, 5 metres, and the officer himself said in the report that it was large. It's accepted as large. There is the question of the light, which John has referred to, and the sense of overbearing nature, which still, these are not huge gardens in Abbey Park, and I do think that there will be a sense of enclosure, and it was put rather more strongly in terms of imprisonment, but excuse me, I have sympathy with that view. And they must feel a bit resentful that they're not able to extend their own property. I think well, it will be better, and I mean I'm in favour of the obscure glazing if it goes down, or it is carried, and certainly that will help. But on balance, I think I have some sympathy with the objectors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Can I just remind members, obviously, if they are minded to reject, they do need to come up with planning policy.
Yes, I can character and overbearing nature.
Is there anybody else that wants to debate this? Councillor Holcombe?
Yeah.
I mean, when I saw the photographs, that bothered me, as John has said, about the light angle at night. You know, when you come home from work and you want to go in the garden, and you're going to have that. I mean, I know you can go 3 metres out without asking planning permission, but that was a side of it that I wasn't comfortable with, and I'm still not from that point of view. So I thought I'd put that thought forward.
Any more debate? Councillor Stevens?
I think Upper Park was built to be fairly open and low dense dwellings, low density occupation. Nevertheless, as I understand it, planning officers can tell me if I'm wrong, loss of light in that way is not planning grounds for refusal. So unless somebody can rephrase that or tell me I'm wrong, I shall have to vote for it.
Thank you. I think you're right. I think that's why I understand some of the concerns. If we're going to refuse, we do need proper grounds. So if there's no more debate, I think we're going to have to move to the vote. So The recommendations are on pages 12 to 13 of your papers. Obviously, we have added one recommendation, which is for obscure glazing. All those in favour of those recommendations? And against? Abstained? Thank you. That is carried. Thank you very much. Anybody who came just for that item, you're welcome to stay. You're also welcome to leave if that is your wish. And we will move to item 10 on the agenda, which is Burley Hill.
You want a photograph? Photograph.
Okay, so if I could ask the planning officer to make your presentation, please.
This application is for a first floor side extension and a single storey rear extension at 18 Burley Hill. Again, you can see the extent of the sides edged in red there. We've shown the application property and the two adjacent neighbours who've made representations. This shows the extent of the development. Approximately the blue part to the rear would be the single storey element. If you look at my cursor, the yellow part there is approximately where the first floor extension would be located. See a bit more detail here. On the left hand side is the existing, the right hand side is the proposed for the next few slides. The blue on the right hand side is showing the proposed rear extension here. And these are the first floor, so you can see the extent of the side extension there in blue. The elevation plans show that the side extension, it's important to note that the proposed single-storey rear extension could be built under permitted development, so that's an important material consideration. The elevation plans show that the side extension would be subordinate to the existing dwelling with a setback front elevation and a lower ridge height, and will be constructed from matching materials, meeting the requirements of the Harlow design guide. So on this slide you can see on my cursor here that it's set down in ridge height, and on the next slide you can see the setback from the front wall there. These photographs show that the proposal would be built above a reasonably substantially sized existing garage. The bottom right photo, which is taken from the garden of number 20, shows that there are existing first floor windows in the rear of the house. So there are the windows there, and the extension would be built on top of the existing garage here. The side extension would be positioned 10.5 metres from the rear elevations of the main parts of the adjacent properties. The proposal would be less high than the existing dwelling and would only be 2.7 metres closer to the neighbours, with the proposed windows in the rear elevation only 0.75 metres closer to the neighbour's boundary than the existing windows. The windows would not be orientated to facilitate easy viewing of the neighbouring properties, and therefore the impact on neighbours is considered to be acceptable. The health of the tree, which was shown here, can be safeguarded by a condition requiring an arboricultural method statement to be submitted prior to development, and that's one of the conditions already recommended. The plan shows that although the garage would be used for parking cars, would not be used for parking cars anymore, 2 off-street parking spaces would be provided to the front of the property. The Highway Authority has no objections to the proposal. The officer's recommendation is one of approval, subject to the conditions as set out at pages 25 and 26 of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I call Mr. Overy to make your presentation, please? If you could turn this one off, just press that red button and the mic will come on. Do it again. So, you only have one on at a time.
Good evening, members of the committee. My name is John Overy, Fair and Megri Partnership Architects, with the agents for this application. I've come along this evening to briefly explain the design of this extension and how it relates to planning policy, but also to take any questions from members who need clarification on any aspects of the design. Our client specifically required additional bedroom space to accommodate their family. Currently the house has 2 double bedrooms and a small single bedroom, all sharing 1 bathroom. The requirement was for each of the teenage children to have their own double bedroom with study space sharing 1 bathroom, and the parents to have a good sized double bedroom with ensuite facilities. This has been achieved by adding a first floor extension above the existing attached side garage element of the house. The house remains at 3 bedrooms in total. At ground floor level, the conservatory is to be replaced by a more substantial and thermally efficient rear single-storey extension across the rear, wrapping around to link with the side extension, which gives the chance to create an open-plan living area, improved kitchen and a separate utility room. From the officer's report in front of you, you will see that the principle of development in this location is considered acceptable. In regard to character and appearance, policy BE1, we have designed the extension to be subordinate to the main house, having a ridge height 460mm lower than the main house, and we have set the extension approximately 500mm behind the front building line. The extension is not greater than 2/3 the width of the existing house and will be constructed from a similar palette of materials, all the above items being in compliance with the residential SPD. In this respect, it is considered acceptable to the planning officer. You will note the planning officer has also considered the impact on neighbouring amenity and concluded there would not be a significant increase in overlooking or loss of privacy to the neighbouring properties, and therefore complies with policy BE1 of the Design Guide SPD and the NPPF. During the course of the application, we were aware of objections from the neighbouring properties, and we did amend our drawings to show decreased window width to bedroom 2 to minimise any overlooking. With regard to parking, the design indicates the garage being reduced in length to provide parking for motorcycles and bikes only, as required by the applicants. The original width of the garage, when built, makes it impractical for parking modern cars, it being subject to older car parking standards current at the time. The application drawings therefore indicate the front garden being adapted to provide 2 off-street car parking spaces of the current 5.5 by 2.9 metre dimensions. The Highway Authority had no comments to make, and the planning officer concludes there are no highway safety concerns, and it therefore complies with policy T9. In conclusion, the application has been recommended at officer level for approval, subject to conditions, and we would urge the Management Committee members to follow this recommendation and grant approval.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You just press the red button. Right.
Thank you very much.
Anybody got any questions of the agent before he goes? Yeah.
In your presentation there, you said obviously, and I can understand having teenagers myself doing bigger rooms for them as they grow older and everything else, but actually you did leave the bit out of the rear extension. You didn't really say the rear extension is being put on, but actually the bedroom layout and the side extension is not going over the top of it.
No, but by providing the side extension, we've given us the opportunity to remodel the first floor to get the 3 double bedrooms that were required for the family with two teenagers. The ground floor extension already had the conservatory there, so half of that was already covered. It was thought it was nice to improve the kitchen facilities there, also to get a utility room in, which wasn't there before. So there was that opportunity to increase the width. And I think, as the planning officer stated, it could have been permitted development anyway. So
I just wanted to clarify, it wasn't that I was objected to, I just you didn't mention it at all.
Thank you.
So would you then, in the kitchen, have a kitchen dining system type of design?
Yes,
That's what
it's a lot more open
Yeah,
plan.
as the
The whole
modern trend
ground
is.
floor will be open plan,
Yeah,
but you take the noisy, messy things and put them in the utility
Yeah.
room.
yeah. So you've got the best of the open plan and the utility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, councillors, any questions of the planning officers? Yeah? No?
Yeah, I think so.
Could I-
Sorry?
Yes. It's just
No.
a tree.
Tree?
The officer said that, I mean, obviously, it's a civic, you know, if there is a serious issue about the tree, and it's emphasised that it could affect foundations and so on. I'd just like a bit more clarifications on that.
The council's consultant arborist had a look at it and said that it would be appropriate to put on the arboricultural method statement condition. So what that does is, prior to them constructing anything, they'd have to do a survey of the tree and really identify a method by which they construct that extension, so it wouldn't have, it wouldn't risk the longevity of the tree, the health of the tree. So subject to that condition, there should be no concerns regarding the tree.
Could I ask more about the arboricultural statement? Because sometimes that statement has not been given until any extension. I know one example where the extension is more or less completed by the time the arboricultural statement is made, and it seems the wrong way round to me. It should take place before the agreement.
The conditions that we impose do say that it should be before development commences. If someone was to do the works without discharging that condition, they'd be breaching their condition and therefore be committing an offence. We obviously have an enforcement arm, so if someone was to report this and we were to have wind of it, and it was expedient to do so, we could take steps to stop the build out, or maybe temporarily cease the works until we get that information in. But we can't, if a condition is reasonable, and these types of conditions are very standard sorts of conditions, we can't reject them because we're worried that someone will break the rules. Ultimately, they'll be liable to enforcement action if they go against the conditions that we impose.
Any questions? Councillor Strachan? No?
Well, I've just got a thing actually. On page 32 of our pack, which is showing the new upstairs layout, it just might need a slight amendment. It says bed 1, bed 2 and bed 2. So notice things like this. Have you noticed? No, obviously
Didn't
not.
notice.
But it is.
I think it's clear that it's going to be a 3-bedroom
Obviously,
dwelling.
Let's say bed 2 and bed 2.
It's
Just thought I'd point that out.
Thank you. Okay, debate. We want to start? Councillor Clark?
Well, somewhat similar concerns. Nobody's here to represent those views, but there is a question of overbearing nature in relationship to next door property. We've had in our post an objection, as you know, in the pictures, and I gather it might not be altogether accurate, but there's a bit of concern here about the effect on the conservatory in particular, and their amenity generally. I should have asked a question about the existing drive. just has enough parking provision for one car only. Is that the case?
Microphone. I think it is, but the new plan shows space for two.
Yes, but my understanding was that it wasn't going to alter that much. There is enough
So
space.
page 31. You can see.
Here we are. So you can see the existing arrangement on the left, the proposed on the right. So there'd be 2 spaces provided, which is in accordance with our guidance for properties of this size.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Any more debate? No?
No.
Okay. In that case, if we could move to a vote, members. All of the recommendations appear on pages 25 and 26. All those in favour? Against? Abstention?
Well,
Is that against or abstain?
yes, I'll go against.
That is carried.
To be consistent.
Thank you very much. Back to page 1. Any piece of the paper. Agenda item 9, references from other committees. There are none. Agenda item 10, matters of urgent business. There are none. And therefore I close this meeting at 16 minutes past 8. Thank you for coming.